Connecting our community. Choose life. Choose High. 101.9 High FM.
Good morning, good morning. This is the Kabanah Show, and welcome to Body, Mind and Soul of Emuna. And this morning, on this beautiful 11th of December, the sun shining a little bit, the 8th of Teves, 5774, I'm going to be speaking to my weekly guest, Orit Riter, and we're going to be talking about peace. We're going to be talking about shalom, meaning completeness. We're going to be talking about inner peace, which resonates with outer peace and those around us. And I think that it is very fitting in this time right now in what South Africa is experiencing. We are mourning the death of our beloved Madiba, who was an icon, who was an absolute living example of what it is to achieve peace. And so that's what us South Africans are going through at the moment. So Orit is going to be joining me on Skype just now. We're going to get hold of us. And she authors a daily dose of an online articles and emails about Emuna to a growing list of subscribers from all around the world. These emails inspire others to get through challenging times by drawing from the wisdom of our Torah sages, in particular the Derech of Chassidut. Having recently created an innovative caring and listening gemach, Orit spreads her Emuna knowledge to other women via personal email, Skype or phone by lending a compassionate ear and an open heart to others in need. She provides practical coping skills for self-healing and emotional strengthening. In addition, she gives Emuna Shiurim every Tuesday night in Ramat Bet Shemesh area, and these Shiurim are available for viewing on TorahAnytime.com and Daily Doses of Emuna YouTube channel. The Daily Dose of Emuna is currently embarking on a new journey, publishing their first book called 180 Degrees in 180 Days, which will compile of 180 of the most popular daily doses of Emuna articles, together with new Torah insights and Emuna stories and chizuk and strength for us. And they do have a haskama and bracha from Rabbi Avraham Twersky Schlitter and Rabbi David Weinberger Schlitter and Rabbi Pinchas Winston Schlitter. Just as the body needs food, the soul needs Emuna unless it starves. Orit Riter, through her emails and upcoming book, provides others with spiritual food they so desperately need to survive. The book will be divided into daily lessons. Each lesson will coincide with 2 dates on the Jewish calendar, and you can dedicate Emuna lessons in memory of a loved one, in celebration of an event, or hatzlocha for any occasion. All the information is available on the website www.dailydosesofemuna.com. Please take part in considering this beautiful mitzvah in sharing the light with others. And we're just going to go to a quick break, and then we're going to speak to Orit.
Radio that's better than the rest. This is 101.9 High FM.
Good morning. This is the Kabanah Show, Body, Mind and Soul of Emuna. And the Kalani Mall is fighting school holiday boredom with loads of daily activities. At the Color Wheel, there are 10,000 Rand's worth of vouchers to be won. Get excited, kids. Take your picture and upload it to the Kalani Mall Facebook page and win 5,000 Rand in vouchers weekly. Daily activities include game shows, workshops and entertainment from the 9th of December to the 24th of December. So, good morning, Orit. Are you there with us?
Yes, good morning from the stormy Israel.
Oh, gosh, you got your rain finally.
Oh, we do, but in bountifuls. I mean, it's really amazing. It's actually quite beautiful. I love the winter. So coming from North America, where I'm good.
It was our Nelson Mandela's Memorial Day yesterday, and it rained the whole day. It didn't stop for a minute until the services were over. And a lot of people were saying it was as if the heavens were crying for him. It was quite amazing.
Wow, it's a very big loss to the world.
Yes, it is. So we're going to be speaking about shalom, which is something that Nelson Mandela really embodied.
It's eerie when you think about it. Really, how it must be in the air, because I'm just starting this new series about really trying to give practical tools. I have so many people who come to me and talk to me, so many women, and I just wanted to be able to offer a real series so that we can see growth throughout a span of time of how to really, it all begins from inner peace. Shalom, we know, is wholesomeness, it's completeness, it's a state of perfection or a journey towards perfection. But we need practical tools for it. And I just started really, as they say, getting your hands into that whole idea of how to create inner peace, wholeness within the being of us. And that, of course, all change begins within. And when we change ourselves within, God willing, it'll radiate, to those that we are always surrounded by.
Yes. And so carry on, Orit.
Yeah. So really what, I wanted to start off with was just the whole basic meaning and the definition of what shalom is, because I think that if we kind of really understand in depth what it is and what it isn't, we'll be able to work towards it, obviously, in a more successful way. So the whole concept of shalom is really not when there are no differences. So when we're talking about shalom, when we're talking about, unity and peace between two people, two nations, two entities, we're talking about particularly when there are clashes and when there are differences between two people. So when we talk about, for instance, shalom bayit, marital peace and harmony in the home between a husband and a wife, we're talking about the fact that if the holy sages called it shalom bayit, that means from the get-go they're saying, listen, you're going into a relationship where you're going to have a husband and a wife, and you are not going to be the same. There are going to be differences, and the whole concept of creating shalom bayit, or creating this marital harmony, is for you to work out your differences. And when the clashes arise, and they will arise, right? The fact that you can successfully unite in spite of them, that is creating shalom. That's really the essence of what shalom is that when you get to that point where, oh my goodness, he or she is so different from me, and I'm so this and she's so that, well, here you go. Ding-a-ling-a-ding. There's the bell ringing saying, now it's time to successfully work on your shalom bayit. And it's written, just so we understand the essence and importance of what shalom is. It's written in the Gemara. Rabbi Shimon ben Chalafta, he said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God in his essence, he found no other vessel to contain his bracha, to contain his blessings, other than shalom. So in other words, the essence of the vessel that we're supposed to create in our lives is shalom. And when we unite and successfully merge with others and unite with others and respect and hold in high regard other people's values and cherish who they are and the differences that we hold between us, that in essence gives the vessel for God to be able to dwell within and pour his blessings in, and for us to be embraced by it. So it's a very, important part of living is to pursue and to chase after any opportunity that we can unite, if it's in our homes, if it's between parents and children. Interesting enough, we talk about this a lot in our classes, our Tuesday night classes here in Ramat Bet Shemesh, Israel, that, the whole idea of a parent, not feeling comfortable enough excuse me, to be able to say to their child, I'm sorry. That distance that we create. We live in a very different generation. We have to learn to understand that the most important thing in life is not to be right. Mm-hmm. It's to be in peace. You don't want to always be right. The key to wisdom is not to say, I'm right and you're wrong and we have a dispute in our hands. It's to create harmony and peace, to be able to put those fragment pieces together and unite them as one.
Absolutely, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So.
And so when we're alone with ourselves and we, many people are very, very uncomfortable to be alone with themselves. And they can be gregarious and the fun of the party. And when they're alone, it's very, very uncomfortable. So what do you think is going on
at that point? Well, I always say it's interesting because I was speaking to a lady yesterday after the class, and she said to me, I really work on my Emuna so much, and then I see that there are people out there that do have it all. There are people that have everything. I know that we're always being told that everyone, not that misery, yes, misery loves company, but it's not like we seek enjoyment when we see that someone else is in pain or in a difficult place, but it sort of consoles us to understand that, we're all in this together. I guess that's really what we're always looking for, is that I'm not alone. And so she was saying, how she really feels like sometimes, that someone else, in particular, she was saying that her, neighbor of hers, she feels like she really does have everything. And so I said to her, you never know really how people go to sleep at night, because that's like sort of the indication. When we go to bed, it's a very interesting concept. If you look at it, all day long we're walking, we're standing up, right? Our mind physically is above our heart. When you look at, the physique of the body, or the mind is on top of the heart. When you go to bed at night, when you lie down, what happens? The body, the heart is in line, on the same line as the mind. And so that's why we find a lot of problems with insomnia, is because when I lie down at night, I'm saying to my heart that you're now on the same level as your brain. So all of that, all day long, we're always trying to create intellectual ideas and deductions and talk intellectually to ourselves. And for the most part, we're able to overcome a lot of those feelings. But at night, the heart says, wait a minute, I'm now on your level. You're not above me anymore. We're on the same level. Physically, we're on the same level. So emotionally, the heart feels like, oh, now I'm going to flood you with all that I've been keeping in all day long. And so at night, a lot of these feelings seem to flood open into our minds, and the gates of emotions open up. Interestingly enough, if you notice, the kids, before they go to bed, they're always, I don't know, at least it's in my home, and I think it's pretty common. Kids, Mom, do you know what happened to me today? And it's like, weren't we together for the past 5 hours? Like, why didn't you tell me this before, that someone picked on you, hit you, whatever, God forbid, right? Well, at night when they go to bed, suddenly they remember all these feelings that they've been going through, because, again, the heart is given room and space for it to be able to express itself without feeling that it's dominant force of the mind is, controlling it. And so when we are there in that state at night, and particularly where you were speaking about being alone, what happens is when we have a problem dealing with ourselves and our emotions, that's key point to the soul saying, I'm suffering. You're not paying attention to me. In fact, all negative emotions, anything negative that comes to our that we experience in our daily lives, it's all a message from the soul saying, I'm suffering. You're neglecting me. You're not paying attention to me.
Yes,
and we're going to see.
Yes.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Orit, we're just going to take a quick break and just hold on to those thoughts, please. Please. We'll be back now.
We bring the news. We bring the action. We bring it live. This is 101.9 ChaiFM.
Good morning and welcome back to the Kabanah Show, Body, Mind and Soul of Emuna. So, Orit, we were talking about that the fact that when we lie down to sleep at night, the head and the heart are on the same level, and all kinds of emotions and thoughts start to then rush through the body.
Yeah, it's an amazing phenomenon, and I when I learned about the reason why this happens, it suddenly was like, oh, it really makes sense. I mean, in addition to that, also at night, the darkness that envelops us, the physicality that we're experiencing, that state of being in the dark, sort of being alone, there's quiet. We have to now confront who we really are. And all of those negative emotions, now let's look at this. It's very interesting that all these negative emotions, let's tie this into Emuna and see why it is that I particularly chose to start talking and embarking on the journey of emotional healing and spiritual health when it comes to learning Emuna. Because as I started researching and learning and reading more, I started realizing that in essence, I can't build any relationship. And this is like a common knowledge, but it became very clear and it sort of stood out in my mind. And that's why I decided to really embrace this whole idea and really bring it out there and make it more widespread and known, is when I don't have my inner calm, when I am holding on to negative emotions, I can't have a relationship first and foremost with myself, of course with others, and how much more so with Hashem. I can't have a relationship with anybody if I don't have my inner equilibrium in the right place, if I'm not aligned within myself. And so what do we see? What is the barometer by how I can determine where I am with my Emuna? And again, what is Emuna? In a nutshell, Emuna means my ability to feel God's presence in my life. So when I say the word Emuna, what I'm really saying is, how is my relationship, what is my spiritual state like in, and how is my relationship with God? And do I feel his existence, and how much do I feel his existence and his intimate involvement in my life? So how can I check where I am on that barometer scale of where my Emuna lies? Am I on the weaker side, the stronger side? It all is dependent on one single factor. Where am I emotionally? If I'm walking around in my life with any negativity of emotions, now again, we're all humans. We're not talking about not being frustrated ever, or not being angry ever, or not being sad and down ever. We're talking about becoming where it's very often, and sort of we sort of are able to gauge within ourselves, you know what, I've been really sad a little bit too much lately, or I'm having a really hard time smiling, but like genuinely smiling at my spouse or my friend or my mother. I'm losing patience, I'm depressed, I'm very edgy. Anything that I see that's sort of to the extreme, that's of course an indication for me that my soul is suffering, which means, again, here we're tying it into Emuna, is if I'm enveloped in this negativity on a very permanent, very consistent basis, it's telling me that my Emuna is very, very weak. So I felt, let's go back to Emuna 101 on emotional healing. Let's go back to trying to resolve those issues that we carry along with us day by day, moment, that baggage. Let's look at this. When I'm pulled back into the past, I experience negative emotions such as anger and guilt. That pulls me into the past, because those are things, if I'm angry now, it's because of something that happened in the past. If I'm guilty, it's something that I did in the past. So that's always, if I'm walking around with anger and guilt, I'm always living in the past. And yet, if I'm walking around with worry and with fear, that's pulling me into the future, because I can only be worried and fearful and anxious about something that's going to possibly happen in the future. So I'm never really, when I'm steeped into negativity and negative emotions, I'm never living the now. Mm-hmm. I'm never living here. I don't see my husband, I don't see my kids, I don't see my parents, my children, I see nobody. I only am involved in my past or my future. So how important is that? And then I miss my whole life. I actually miss my whole present of my life. Because what is life? Life is right now, this moment, the moment that just passed. It's not my life anymore. It's gone. It's gone. Life is only what I'm experiencing right now at 10:28 in the morning. That's my life. And so I have to constantly put myself back. In fact, as the sages say, who is the righteous man? The one who lives in the present. The one who, when I'm davening, I don't remember my supermarket list or the things I have to remember to do, or, oh my gosh, the time is getting late. I'm embraced in the right now. And that is the power, that's the struggle within the mind that we have to constantly do. And that's the work of Emuna.
Yes, absolutely, sure. And so how does that then resonate with the outer peace that we looking at the inner peace, and then which will then resonate with an outer peace? How do we achieve that?
Right. So in one sentence, I'll tell you a beautiful quote that I actually just learned, and I'll start, the answer with this. The quote goes, everybody knows how to build a beautiful house, but only a few people know how to live beautifully in the house. So in other words, whatever I do in the house, whatever the external view is, it's a reflection of what's going on inside of me. So if I don't work, okay, I'll give an example. If I was hurt when I was 6 years old by Mora Rivka in Gan in nursery, okay, or not 6, when I was 4. When I was 4, I had a horrible experience with my nursery teacher, and I'm very hurt. Now I'm going to parent my child, and I'm constantly bringing in, and I don't mean this against any Mora Rivkas, but I'm bringing that Mora Rivka experience with me every time I go and I approach my child. And it's unconsciously, we don't realize this. If I don't let go and forgive, and forgiving goes with forgetfulness, because when I'm able to forgive, I can actually bury it and forget about it. So when I say forget, it doesn't mean that I'm saying it's not relevant. It means first I have to forgive, and then I can forget it, not forget and then just forget. It has to go with the forgiveness. But if I'm not resolving what's going on inside of me, and I'm constantly bringing back my past and negative emotions, then what's happening is it's affecting my entire life. It's affecting my whole family. It's affecting everything. So all harmony, all shalom, in essence, my whole life is within me. And that's why we go back to that famous saying that Hashem created the whole world. Why? Just for me. Just for me. Because inside of me, I have the power. When I change me, I am a mini world. When I change me, I'm in essence changing everything around me. That's the power. It's interesting. There's a very famous show in the States called the Oprah Winfrey Show. I'm sure you've heard of it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So she did something is very, very interesting where it was years back on my days when I used to watch TV. I don't watch anymore. But anyway, I remember seeing this. It was just a beautiful thing. And I actually practiced this myself. In the States, when you go on the highways, on the parkways, you have a toll that you have to throw in coins. And at one point, she did sort of an experiment where she would have someone drive through, and it was at that time 35 cents. I think it's $1 today. But anyway, she'd have a person go through the toll and pay 70 cents for them and the car behind them. And they did that, and they wanted to see how long, and first of all, what the response was, of course, from the one behind, but also how long this phenomenon would last, because she knew it would somehow have a ripple effect. And sure enough, quite a few cars, if I don't remember what the outcome of, but of course it affected. So what we're learning from here, and we know this, I pass somebody out on the street and I smile and I give them one or two good words. I've changed their whole world, and then they've changed their world, and that one changes their world. Look at the power we have. You understand? So we have to do this.
Yes. Okay. You were talking about remembering, or the forgiving and the forgetting. I always like to say it's forgiving, and one does need to remember.
Yeah. Well, we should only remember that which is going to help us to build. If I'm going to remember something and it's going to debilitate me and it's going to drag me down, then I don't want to remember it. I'm not going to learn anything from it. It's just carrying on to the future. That's why, and how do we know how powerful the whole idea of letting go is? Because God has given us once a year, Yom Kippur, where we're able to stand there in front of him and say and release and empty out that whole year's worth of guilt and feelings of unworthiness, and I fell short, and all my shortcomings, I'm able to let go of them, and I'm able to just empty it out and start anew. And that's a phenomenal feeling. Many of us walk away from Yom Kippur feeling actually that we're lighter, and it's not just because we didn't eat, but we actually feel lighter. It's I mean, if you want to express it in a sentence, it's like going through a dry cleaner. You really feel like you're totally cleansed and clean. But we can experience this every single day if I practice emotional healing every day, if I'm honest with myself of where I am. See, if I see myself a few times yelling at my kids and being impatient with my kids, I have to at one point sit down with myself and say, you know what? This is not right. We're going to make a change. And yet it's very beautiful. I don't know if we have the time right now, but there's a three steps to creating permanent change that I wanted to talk about. And then maybe when we go through those steps, I can now sort of bring it down a little bit more concrete. But the bottom line is I need to first, be able to say to myself, I'm not happy with where I am. And it's not supposed to drag me down. It's not supposed to make me feel unworthy and not capable. But I'm supposed to use that again to grow, because from every void, I'm supposed to work on filling it, not creating a bigger void by saying, oh, yes, you see, you're not good, you're no good, you're not going to be able to work from here, you're not going to be able to grow from here. The idea is to take that and use it as an empowerment tool.
Absolutely. And so if we're looking to spread that out to those around us,
well, it all goes by how the reflection of me. How do I know that what we do affects those around us in such a phenomenal, exciting way? Is when you walk into someone's home, you could pick up, if you're in tune enough with yourself, and most of us do have that sort of sense of it being in tune with themselves, we can actually pick up what's going on in the house even before we were there. Sometimes you can walk into somebody's home and you just feel this heaviness. You feel and sense this unwelcomeness, this constrictive place. You feel it. It's because your soul, who is only able to receive spiritual messages, they pick up on those spiritual messages and the, spiritual with emotional messages that are in the home. We're able to pick up on that. We're able to feel what's going on. So what does that mean? It means that what I do radiates further. It affects further. And I'm at loss of words because it's so vital. It's so vital that I work on myself every single day. Now, the worst part of this whole idea of learning to be in a better place is the fact that we all the time deny our feelings. When nobody wants to look at themselves and say, I have issues. We're always passing the buck along. We're always shunning responsibility. It's because of my family. It's because of my parents, the way I was treated. If I was brought up in your home with your parents, of course I would be able to give very freely to my husband, my children, and so on and so forth. But that's not it. At one point in your life, a person has to say, I have to assume responsibility. I have to stop it right now, and I have to make a change. And so the worst thing we could do is to deny ourselves of feeling those emotions. No, I have to accept those emotions. I have to be responsible for those emotions, and I have to understand that I have to deal with them because they're an indication of the fact that I am falling apart. And I can't live that way. I can't live that way because I'm affecting everybody I'm coming into contact with.
Wow, sure. And it's interesting that the word Emunah comes from the word truth, emes. And that's what we need to be with ourselves. And I think that maybe there's the two extremes that are happening in society, where there's people that are looking to take extreme responsibility for everything, for their lives, for things that are going on around them. And then probably the other extreme is where there's just the blaming and the victim mentality, where the individual doesn't want to take responsibility.
Right. Absolutely. But again, taking responsibility is what we need to do. But it's not allowed to wear and tear us down. It's not supposed to create the sense of, you see, it's always that voice pointing at you saying, you see, you're not capable of doing. You see, you learned. You went yesterday to an anger management class and look how you got angry again. But what I promote in my classes is okay, you know what? I'm going to my anger management classes. I didn't become an angry I don't have this tendency of anger from yesterday. It's been with me for X amount of years. I have to give myself time to be able to work on it. And what we don't do enough is we don't commend ourselves enough and don't cherish the baby steps that we make. And I'll give you an example. If we tend to get angry at our spouse, 5 times a day. And now I'm only getting angry at my spouse 4.5 or 4 3/4 times a day. I've made progress. It generally takes me 10 minutes of screaming till I finally stop. And now I only screamed 9 minutes and 50 seconds. I've made progress. And that's what we don't value, is the progress. We don't see that progress. All we see is down, 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 down. But we don't understand is that every time we go down, we're actually going further up and further up, even though there are, of course, downs. There are going to be downs. But we have to understand is we are making progress. It's the evil inclination that's always trying to say, oh, it's not working. Look, you are who you are. Accept yourself for who you are. That's not good. That's not called being good with ourselves. It's called living in falsehood. It's called being stagnant and not caring to grow.
Yes.
And stopping in our tracks.
Yes. Orit, we're just going to go to a quick break and we'll be back now.
From Johannesburg to Israel, from sport to business, this is 101.9 Chai FM.
Good morning. This is the Kabanah Show. Welcome back. And so, Orit, welcome back. And we have been speaking about peace, and we could go on and on for ages, because it is just such a vital topic, and I think people are just so hungry for any little bits of wisdom that they can get in order to start a process of self-healing and of healing their families and people, the people around them. So I don't know if you want to just wrap up a little bit more about peace, and if you want to then go a little bit onto the fast of Teves that we're going to be going into on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. What I'd really like to do is to see, I'd like to engage the listeners and ask that they respond either directly to you or to me. Anyone can write me an email. My email address is Orit, O-R-I-T, Riter, R-I-T-E-R, @gmail.com, or visit the website and get a link to my email, www.dailydoseofemuna.com, because I want to leave us with just a 3-step program on implementing, lasting and meaningful change in our lives. And I'd just like to know, I'm doing this with my Tuesday night class as well. I really would like to know if we could really practically put this into practice in the next week until, God willing, we come back next week and speak again. And I would really like to hear if people, your listeners and, people who also attended last night or any time that view the class are going to be able to really implement what we're learning today, because I think the idea is it's beautiful and great and stimulating talk and philosophical to talk about the idea, and it sounds very invigorating and empowering. But are we going to walk away from today and say, I'm going to do something about it? And so that brings me to the first step in making permanent change. It's acknowledging what I want to, in 2 words, it's acknowledging the 3 words, acknowledging the urgency. What does that mean? It means, okay, I'm acknowledging the fact that I want to make a change, but not that I want to make a change. This is where we fall short, is that we need to change, okay? I have to readily admit to myself that I can no longer continue on the same path that I'm traveling on right now. No, there's no such words as, okay, I'm not in the ideal place, I agree, but I got to be honest, it's really not so bad. It's not so bad in my house. I mean, we really, all in all, we don't fight a lot. My kids, we get along, basically everything's fine. I just gave that example. Yeah, it could be in anything in my life. If I give myself a doorway, an escape route of saying, you know what, it's nice to change. Sure, there's always a better place, but, so what if it continued this way? I'm never going to be able to really implement any lasting change. So I can apply this to dieting or, eating or changing my lifestyle of eating. I can apply this to anything in my life. If there isn't a sense of urgency that I am not, and a real sternness of resolution, I am not going to continue on this way. Okay? There has to be a deep sense of urgency. I must make a change, and I am not going to accept the way things are right now in my life. If I don't go through that first phase, change will not stick. So that's number 1. The second requisite for us to be able to make a change is I have to know, where do I ideally want to be? It's where do I want to be? I have to have a specific destination, and I have to know exactly, to present very clearly an outline where I want to see myself. In other words, okay, I want to see myself eating more healthy, okay? I want to see myself eating, screaming less at my kids. Okay, so now I will have to be more specific with that. I want to, from now on, not scream at my kids when they spill something on the floor accidentally, okay? And I'm only going to work on that. I'm not going to work at not screaming at my kids for now. I'm not going to work at not screaming at my kids when they fight amongst themselves or when they don't do their homework or they didn't clean up their room. No. I'm not working on that aspect of my yelling. I'm going to work only on that thing that I know is really troubling me. Like, I feel like, why should I be yelling at a child if they accidentally spill the milk? I shouldn't be upset with them. So I have to be very specific about where I want to make that change. And that brings me to the third phase, is I have to come up with a very clear plan of what it is that I am going to do in order to achieve that change. And I have to also, with that, understand that it's going to demand of me, I have to be real, it's going to demand of me self-sacrifice. I'm going to have to go through hurdles and bumps. I'm going to see myself fall on my face sometimes. But the idea of the intellect of the human being is that we keep our eye on the goal. And we don't forget that we're working towards a goal. I'm not here to just satisfy my need right now, but I know that I'm on a journey to change and that I'm going to get there and be, constantly positive stimulation to think that and to see the goal in front of us, that there is going to be a time where I will be able to conquer this. So I would really like to know if we could really create this sort of awareness where we're going to be able to catch ourselves. And so I would really enjoy to hear from people who have listened to us today to see if they can really go through that 3-step program and implement change, and if it's changed their lives, and if it's meaningful, this piece of advice.
Yes, I think these 3 steps are absolutely amazing. And so here in South Africa, we're coming up for the December holiday. A lot of people are going away, and then it heads towards the secular New Year, where people then feel an urgency before they start work and start the new year of school, and reinstating themselves back into their lives. They have a sense of urgency of all the kind of things that they do want to change. And I think what you've just laid out, in terms of the 3 steps of the one, I'll repeat it, is the sense of urgency in order to make a change. Because if that sense of urgency is not there, it doesn't do anything for us. And then to know that I do have a destination. The second point, that I'm heading towards somewhere. And then the third step that you mentioned was a plan, to actually lay out a plan. And I'll give the on-air SMS for listeners who would like to, in the future programs, maybe even still now if we've got a little bit of time, the on-air SMS line is 34519, and the on-air email is onair@chaifm.com, and that they can interact with us. And, please God that we get some feedback or some questions regarding these 3 steps that Orit has laid out for us. We're just going to go to a quick break, and we'll be back now.
Stay relevant and up to date. Keep informed. This is 101.9 High FM.
Good morning. This is the Kabanah Show, Body, Mind and Soul of Emuna, with Orit Riter, and we have been speaking about peace. So welcome back, Orit. And we need to just start to wrap up. I don't know if you want to carry on with a little bit on those 3 steps, or to go on to just a little bit about the fast of the 10th of Teves.
Yeah. I would love to just say a few words about the fast. I think it's very, very important. Just to understand the inner essence of why we fast. We should understand that a fast is actually very, very good for us, because it enables us to be able to really cut off from that material part of ourselves, and be able to really tap into that spiritual energy. Very interesting enough, it comes out to be on Erev Shabbos on Friday this year, which I think really, I have a feeling this Shabbos is going to be a very elevated Shabbos for many of us who fast, because going into that disconnect between material and really food is the most raw material engagement that we do in life. There's nothing more that we come into contact with that's more material than food, and it's something that we can't live without. So you can choose to live in a more simpler home. You can choose to live with less clothes in your closet. There's a lot of materialistic things we can live without, but when it comes to food, we cannot live without food. So in essence, God, Hashem, has created this material meeting between us and food that we have to engage in every day, and we have to control. So the fast, in essence, really what it does is now we're engaging in this limiting of our gross material aspect of ourselves to eat on a fast. But really those days of fast days are going to eventually be days of happiness, because we're going to see from it the benefits that we've reaped from being able to control our materialistic nature. And unfortunately the whole concept of this fast, it's really it's the beginning of the dimming of the light of the Jewish nation, because it was the beginning of the siege on Yerushalayim, and it was the first stage of the war that really ended with the destruction of the first temple. So in essence, this is the beginning of what's to be a very tragic end for the Jewish nation, as if to say, you're alone now. I mean, because when we left the temple, the message to the whole world was, God has left you, God forbid, and God has abandoned you. And it's interestingly enough that Hashem put it dafka in the month of Tevet, which is the coldest and darkest and shortest days of the month of the year, that we have to deal with this concept of being alone and being isolated and not having that ability for the Jewish nation to shine that light of Torah to the world around us. But I'll just end off on a positive note, is that what we need to remember is everything goes after the beginning. The beginning of the month of Tevet were at those end of the days of Hanukkah, where we really saw the lights of Hanukkah shining, and we embraced, hopefully most of us were able to work within ourselves to take and absorb as much of that light as we possibly could have in front of those candles, and gained and strengthened our Emuna and our ability to sense God's presence with us all the time. And so the whole month of Tevet, so you see, look how beautiful and caring of Hashem is to us. He says, I'm going to give you, I have to give you this fast. We have to go there. But you know what? It's going to be after you've been able to strengthen yourself through the lights of Hanukkah, through that ability to absorb the glow. And the message is, you can glow. You can shine. You can rededicate your life to Hashem once again, even in the darkness and the difficulty of having to fast and losing the Beis HaMikdash, which, God willing, will be rebuilt soon. Barachamim in our days. Amen.
Oh, on those wonderful, wonderful, positive words, Orit, thank you so much for this morning. That was absolutely beautiful. And please God, we'll be doing our second part in the Change series next week, together with Orit Riter. And just the email address again for Orit is www.dailydosesofemuna.com. Thank you, Orit, and have a beautiful day.
Thank you, you too.
Okay, bye-bye.